Okay. Yesterday, let's continue and move ahead faster. Yesterday, we were speaking about the working of a simple BJT, how the emitter junction, which is what heavily doped, has lots of free electrons, how the base junction, which is lightly doped, has very few free holes, and how the collector junction has which is moderately doped, has free electrons again, and how at both junctions we have depletion layers formed, and only when we apply an external voltage and which overcomes that depletion potential, only then there will be movement of charge carriers from emitter to base, where few will recombine to form the base current and the rest will continue over to get collected at the collector. And like this, the value of collector current here would be what? The value of collector current IC would be almost 98 or 99% of the emitter current, which is IE. Remember, the emitter current is constituted because of movement of electrons from this negative of the supply. It is like this negative of the supply VBB will be supplying electrons in this direction. So electrons will move like this. So holes are moving in the opposite direction. That's why the emitter current is coming out of the emitter. Okay. And here, whereas the collector current, electrons will be moving from the collector to the positive of the supply. We saw electrons will be moving downward. Therefore, the conventional collector current will be in the opposite direction. And this current has 99% of the electrons coming from the emitter and say 0.01 or 1% or 2% of the electrons which will be coming from the base. In base, electrons are the minority carriers. So this we call as the reverse saturation current because the base collector junction is reverse biased. Remember, this junction is reverse biased. So here the depletion region will be larger. It will have a larger depletion region when compared to something which is forward biased. The depletion layer becomes smaller. Whereas here the width of the depletion region in the collector base junction will increase. This will be the expression for current. And similarly, if I consider the current in terms of the base current, see the base current IB which flows here is again because of the recombination and the few electrons which enter from here to the positive of this supply VBB. So because of the electrons moving in this direction, the base current IB moves in the opposite direction. So if I want to write an expression for collector current in terms of base current, usually we take a different factor beta, beta IB plus 1 plus beta times ICBO. Here, rather than calling ICBO, I'll call it ICEO. In the previous case, here we'll call it ICBO. Beta represents, here alpha, what does alpha represent in this equation? Alpha represents the ratio of collector current to emitter current. Okay, so alpha is the ratio of collector to emitter current in this case, whereas beta is the ratio of collector to base current. We also call this as the current gain factor. Current gain factor, we call it as. Remember, all these are important equations which we are going to use again and again. So this value beta will be very large. So beta will be very large, but alpha is always nearing 1, less than or equal to 1, 0.98, 0.99, so on. Whereas beta is much, much greater than 1. It will be 50, 100, 200, something like that. Why is beta larger than alpha? Can somebody tell me? Looking at the values of alpha and beta, the equations.
IB will be less, no, ma'am.
Yes, IB will be very small when compared to IC. Remember, usually IC is in milliamps, IB will be in microamps, whereas here IC and IE are almost in the same level. Can someone tell me the relationship between IE, IC and IB in a transistor?
IC is equal to IE plus IB.
Are you sure? Which is the largest
IE,
current?
IE is equal to IC plus.
Yes. IE is equal to IC plus IB. Remember, the emitter current would be the largest current. It is the emitter region which supplies the electrons. So emitter current is the largest current in a BJT, and it would be equal to the sum of, so this emitter current will be IB plus IC. You can see here IE is moving out like this, IB is entering here, and IC is entering here. So IC plus IB should give you IE. The total current is always emitter current. Okay, so beta is the ratio of collector current to base current. Alpha is the ratio of collector to emitter current. ICEO is a reverse saturation current in one type of connection. ICBO is the reverse saturation current in another. We'll look into that next. All this we have already spoken. So typically, when a transistor is in saturation, we will assume, I'll come to that, beta, VBE and VCE, how much will it be? In a PNP transistor, I already told you, both the power supplies will be reversed and all the directions of currents will be reversed. So let's move on to the representation, structure and representation of BJTs. Basically, when we fabricate a bipolar junction transistor, it is done like this. So fabricating means growing on a single stone or single layer of silica. So you have a single layer of silicon on which we grow the N layer, P layer, N layer and all that to form the actual BJT. We need particular thickness, particular doping concentration. All this you will be studying in VLSI. When we study the subject VLSI, you will study how exactly a transistor is made. How do we grow the different regions, and how do we adjust the values of all the thickness and doping and all that. Anyway, so actually I have the N-type collector. You can see the largest region. On that we have the P-type base, and whose thickness is very small, and then we have the N-type emitter. You see the 3 terminal connections. Can we talk about the representation? So what would be the representation of an NPN transistor? Usually the base is represented with a straight line here and 2 slanted lines, one representing the collector, the other representing the emitter. And to identify which represents the emitter, we always put an arrow mark on the emitter. So whenever I put the arrow mark in such a way that it represents the arrow pointing out of it, then it is an NPN transistor. So this is the base, this is collector, and emitter is always the one where we have an arrow mark. And how do we put the arrow mark? It always indicates the direction of the emitter current. If I have arrow coming outward, IE will be flowing out of the emitter. You remember in the previous slide we saw here, IE was flowing out. IE was flowing out of the emitter. IB and IC were flowing in. So the same thing here, when we represent, if IE flows outside, remember that is the largest current. IB and IC should flow in. So IB plus IC would make IE. Okay. Similarly, how do I represent a PNP transistor? Again, the base region, the collector and emitter. And in order to represent the emitter correctly, we always need to put the arrow mark on the emitter. So if this arrow mark is pointing inwards, this represents a PNP transistor. So what does this arrow mark indicate? Always I told you, it indicates the direction of flow of the largest current, that is the emitter current. So if IE is entering, naturally what should happen to IB and IC? Both should leave. Yes or no? IB and IC should leave. Only then I can say from Kirchhoff's current law, if I apply KCL at this transistor, IE will be equal to IB plus IC. When IB and IC are leaving and IE is entering, or when IE is leaving and IB and IC are entering. That's how it should be. So this is the standard representation of a BJT. Any doubts with this? So only if you write this representation correctly, you will be able to analyze the direction of currents properly, mark the current directions correctly, and you'll be able to analyze it. Let's move on to the BJT configurations. So we have how many different configurations? Can somebody tell me?
3.
Which are they?
Common emitter, common base, common collector.
Okay. Common base, common emitter, common collector. And what happens in common base?
Base will be common to both emitter and collector.
Yes, the base will be common to both the emitter and collector. How do I represent that? Generally, if I want to represent that, this is how we can write it. So it is, you can either choose the emitter. Let me take the emitter here and this as the collector. So input between what? Emitter and base. Why should I take one common terminal? Can somebody tell me? Why do I, since the transistors have 3 terminals, why is it necessary to take one common? Basically, whenever we analyze devices, we analyze the devices as 2-port networks. In your networks, you have studied what are 2-port networks. There is an input port and an output port. So for representing the input port, I need 2 terminals. And for representing the output port, I need 2 terminals. So totally, I need 4 terminals in a device or a system. But a transistor gives us only 3 terminals. So what we do, in order to cope for the 4th terminal, we always use one terminal as the common terminal. Okay. So please understand the reason for why we should consider the configurations where one of the terminals will be common. So because of a 2-port network requiring 4 terminals to analyze the output given some specific input, but since transistors have only 3 terminals, we would consider one as the common. So here base is common, input is given between emitter and base, and output is measured between collector and base. And in common emitter, you will have the emitter terminal as common. So this is the common terminal. Input will be given between base and emitter. and output will be measured between collector and emitter. And in common collector, again, we will consider the collector as the common terminal. So I'll bring this collector to the ground. Usually this is how we represent, and input will be given between base and collector, and output will be measured between emitter and collector. So here the collector is grounded, here emitter is grounded, here base is grounded. This is how we represent the three transistor configurations. And we try to remember some few important advantages of all the three types of transistor configurations. Let me mention that in terms of amplifier parameters, okay, I'll talk of it when we come to amplifiers, I think. So please remember, these are the three basic configurations. Which configuration is the most used? The common emitter configuration is the highest used because this offers something known as power gain. It gives you both voltage gain and current gain, which is not possible in the other two. Whereas common base gives you only voltage gain and common collector gives you only current gain. So here AV is greater than 1, here AI is greater than 1. Here both AV and AI are greater than 1. Both of them are more than 1. That's why a proper power gain is obtained in the CE configuration. That's why this is preferred in all amplifiers. Whenever I try to amplify, whenever I have to amplify sorry, I think some network issue. Please let me know, were you able to hear the previous things, whatever I told?
Only till the power gain, ma'am.
Yes,
Power
ma'am.
gain.
Okay, are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So here the common emitter is preferred in all amplification applications, mainly because of this reason, where it provides both voltage and current gain greater than 1. It can give us a very large value of voltage gain as well as a large value of current gain. Whereas the other two configurations can't give us both. They either give you voltage gain, which is possible in common base, or current gain, which is possible in common collector, but not both. So almost in all amplifiers, we always use common emitter configuration preferably. Along with this, we also talk about input and output impedances. Let's talk about later. Then let's move on to analyze the input output characteristics of the BJT. So the representation is again put here, and the bias connections, how we connect for NPN, and what are the voltage connections for PNP, and the input characteristics normally. So this can be a graph of IB versus VBE, or even if I plot IC versus VBE, we'll get a similar graph. Even if I take IC versus VBE, you see the equation which relates the collector current to the base emitter voltage. Remember, the base emitter junction is always forward biased, right? So whenever we analyze it as an amplifier, base emitter junction is always forward biased. So the relationship between the output current IC and the forward bias base emitter voltage will be something like this. This is similar to the diode current equation. We also call this as the Shockley's equation. If you remember, the diode current equation tells you the forward current is equal to reverse saturation current into e to the power of forward voltage drop divided by eta Vt. Yes or no? This is called the Shockley's equation in a diode. This is the current flowing, the forward current IF flowing in a diode. I0 represents the reverse saturation current which flows when it is reverse biased. Vf represents the voltage drop across the forward biased diode. Vt represents what? Volt equivalent of temperature, we call it as. Please remember all this and please note down. Vt represents the volt equivalent of temperature, and this comes to approximately 25.8 milli, or I can find this out as T in degree Kelvin by 11,600. If I want to find Vt, you just have to take the temperature in degree Kelvin and divide it with 11,600. You will get what is this voltage Vt, which is volt equivalent of temperature. So normally we'll consider room temperature as 27 degrees centigrade. So if I take the room temperature as 27 degree centigrade, in degree Kelvin, it will be 300 degree Kelvin, right? 27 plus 273. Yes or no? So this will be 300 degree Kelvin divided by this, which will approximately come to this value. You can always remember this as 26 millivolts. Remember, the Vt value is 26 millivolts, and this value neta is a constant which depends on the material used. So if the material is silicon, the value of neta will be 1. If it is germanium, it will be 2. So usually we use silicon material. That's why we'll keep this neta value as 1. And when we do that, so in a transistor, what is the forward bias junction? The base emitter junction is forward biased. The base collector junction is reverse biased. Yes or no? So the forward biased voltage will be VBE. You are seeing here the base emitter voltage is this forward bias voltage in the base emitter diode, and the output current IC, which is caused to flow in that diode, will depend on the reverse saturation current, which we call as IS, into e to the power of what is the forward bias voltage VBE divided by neta, which is 1 because the material is silicon, into Vt, the volt equivalent of temperature. So it's the same equation, only we are replacing these quantities. We are interested in collector current. We are calling the reverse saturation current IS. And we know the forward bias voltage is between base and emitter junction. Neta is 1. So it is e power VBE by Vt. So this clearly represents an exponential relationship between IC and VBE. So whether I draw IC versus VBE or IB versus VBE, I'll get the same thing because all of us know how IC is related to IB. IC is equal to beta times IB approximately. We also have the second term 1 plus beta ICBO, but since that reverse current is very small when compared to this first term, usually we'll just take IC as beta times IB. Hope you are in sync with me. Please tell me if you didn't know something beforehand, and if I'm going fast, please interrupt. Okay. If you want something with little more clarity or something, all this is I'm thinking is a revision of what you know. Okay. Speak up. Are you okay?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, fine. So this represents, yeah. I didn't hear you. Okay. Let's represent the output characteristics, that is dependence of IC with VCE. So how do we represent the output characteristics of the transistor IC versus VCE? And I have plotted multiple characteristic curves for different values of VBE. This output characteristics of the BJT is very important, and we have taken BJT in common emitter configuration. I told you this is the one which is mostly used in all amplifiers. So we have taken the common emitter transistor characteristics. You don't worry about this VA and going back. You just concentrate on the positive part. As we vary the VBE value, the base emitter voltage, forward bias voltage, as it increases, I'm going to get larger values. Say this is for 0.4 volts or something. This is 0.5 volts, 0.6, 0.7 something. So as VBE increases, the value of collector current IC also increases. Okay. And one more thing I want you people to remember is the standard representations. What are these standard representations or symbols, let me say? So if I write both in capital, IC, IB, I'm writing everything in capital, both the parameter and its subscript. If both are in capital, this represents purely DC values. Okay. And if this is in, let's say, this is small, whereas this is in capital, I, B, I, E. This represents total AC plus DC value. And if both are small, IC, IB, IE, this represents pure AC values. So please remember this representation. Here you see he is representing everything as small and capital, which means it is a combination of DC and AC. Okay. So total value we call it as. Whereas if I have both small, it represents pure AC. And if I have both capital, it represents pure DC. Is this clear? So the output characteristics of a common emitter transistor for different values of base emitter voltage is as shown. You can represent this for DC alone also. Initially, we are going to consider only DC conditions, and then we will include AC. So with this, we can classify this into 3 regions of operation. So there are 3 regions of operation for a transistor. Let's see what are those 3 regions. You know, we have the cutoff region. So what is the cutoff region? It is the region below the characteristic corresponding to IB is equal to 0. Ideally speaking, you see, when IB is equal to 0, if I have a method to represent IC in microamperes or so, I may get the characteristics slightly above this x-axis. So this x-axis is the VCE axis, y-axis is the IC. If you want a characteristic for IB is equal to 0, it may be slightly above this, because even when the input current is 0, there will be a very small collector current. Can you tell me why? What is the expression for IC?
Beta IB.
Plus the reverse saturation current. Exact expression for IC is this. So even if this base current is 0, IC will have a very small current due to the reverse bias collector base junction or the reverse saturation current. That's why the characteristic curve will be slightly above the axis. But when we are representing this IC in milliamperes, we can't show it above the axis. We will almost show it on the x-axis. The characteristic curve corresponding to IB is equal to 0. The lowest blue line you can see here is on the x-axis. And the complete area of the characteristic curve below that line is called the cutoff region. Cutoff region of operation is the region below the characteristic curve corresponding to the base current being 0. Okay. So remember, and what happens in cutoff? We had already analyzed. In cutoff, both junctions, both emitter base and collector base junctions are reverse biased. If both junctions are reverse biased, in the cutoff region, you can expect the current to be almost 0. So the current I told you will almost be 0 because the majority component is not there. Only minority component is there. Whereas when the current is 0, the voltage across the collector emitter, the voltage from collector to emitter will almost be equal to the supply voltage which we give. So I'll say the voltage will be maximum and the current will be minimum or 0. In cutoff, voltage across the device is high, current through the device is 0. Remember it like that. The second region is the saturation region. You see, we have joined all the points here where this curve is turning off. Before this curve turns off and becomes almost constant, if I take the area to the left of this, we call that as the saturation region. What is happening in the saturation region? What can I say are the characteristics of the saturation region? First thing, both junctions are what?
Forward ones.
Forward
bias.
biased. Yes. What else? What will happen to the current through the transistor and voltage across the transistor? You see the current is increasing from 0 to maximum. Whichever characteristic you take, the current is going from 0 to maximum for a short variation in the voltage. This x-axis is varying by a very small amount, but the current has reached maximum from 0. So it will increase from 0 to maximum for very small VCE. VCE approximately 0, or if I want to tell you exactly, the saturation level of the voltage across a transistor will be around 0.2 volts. So whenever a transistor is conducting or in saturation, this voltage, the voltage between collector emitter junction for a transistor which is conducting will be approximately 0.2 or 0.3 volts. So I can approximate that to 0. Voltage drop across the transistor is very small, whereas current increases to maximum during saturation. So if I want the transistor to work between these two regions, the transistor can be put to cutoff and then to saturation. When I give 0 voltage, the transistor can be in, or let's say when I give 0 current, the transistor is in cutoff, then I can push it to saturation. So I can go on shifting this transistor to operate between cutoff and saturation. That is when the transistor will be working like a switch. Please remember these characteristics. Okay. In cutoff, both junctions are reverse biased, 0 current, maximum voltage across the transistor, 0 current through the transistor, voltage across transistor will be same as the power supply. In saturation, both junctions are forward biased. Current reaches maximum from 0 and voltage across the transistor will almost be minimum or 0. Now, leaving those two, this central region which is shown here corresponds to the active region. We know in the active region what are the characteristics? EBJ, emitter base junction, forward biased, collector base junction, reverse biased. Yes or no? Most important characteristic of active region is emitter base junction is forward biased, collector base junction is reverse biased. And what happens to the value of current and voltage? You see these characteristic curves. As voltage is increasing, as VCE increases, IC also increases. Initially, that increase in IC is large. For low change, for small changes in VCE, IC increases more. But once it crosses some point, IC remains constant. IC almost, you see the flattening of the curves. So as VCE increases, I can say in the active region, IC will almost remain constant. Even if I vary VCE, there will be very small variation. You see the sloping of the curve is slight. So the variation in IC will be from here to here. Very small variation in IC for a large variation in VCE. X-axis is VCE, which is changing by a large value, but change in the collector current is minimal. It's almost constant. Okay. So in active region, since the characteristics of the device is almost constant current for variation in voltage, it is very useful for amplifier applications. So hope all of you understood the three regions of operation: cutoff, saturation, active. If I operate the transistor between what? Cutoff and saturation, the transistor will be working like a switch. If I operate the transistor in this central portion or the active region, the transistor will be acting like an amplifier. Any doubts with this? Do you have any doubts? Now comes the question, how do I make a device work in the active region? How can I make the transistor work in a particular region of its operation? Yes? Can someone tell? How can the transistor be made to work in a particular region? If we want to make a transistor work in a particular region of its characteristic curve, either the saturation and cutoff as a switch or active region, we need to bias the transistor. Generally, biasing is used to make the device work in the active region. For switching action, actually, we don't always need a bias, but we do it to ensure proper switching or proper movement of the device into saturation and cutoff. Anyway, so what is transistor biasing? Transistor biasing is a technique wherein we are going to apply external DC voltages through a set of resistors to a BJT to ensure that it operates in a specific region of its characteristics, specific region of operation of its output characteristics curve. So please remember a specific region of operation in the sense cutoff, active or saturation. Basically, we are interested in its operation in the active region. So to keep a transistor in the active region, we will connect external DC supplies through resistors to a transistor. And this technique of making the transistor work in active region. So when it is in active region, what do we ensure? Please remember this. This is an alternate definition for biasing. So what is the alternate definition of biasing? Biasing is the technique of ensuring proper flow of zero signal collector current and proper collector emitter voltage. It is a way of ensuring the proper flow of zero signal collector current. What do I mean by zero signal? Which signal is zero? Yes? Which signal would be zero? AC signal is zero. Here we are talking with respect to DC only. So to ensure proper flow of zero signal collector current, which means with AC signal being zero, there should still be some collector current in the transistor and there should be proper collector emitter voltage so that the transistor is working in the active region of its characteristic curve. And this technique is known as biasing. So this is an alternate definition. Basically, you understand biasing is a way of making a transistor work in a proper region of operation, in the active region usually, so that we will forward bias the base emitter junction and reverse bias the collector base junction. That is biasing. We can do it directly using DC supplies, or normally we will do it using a set of resistors rather than simply doing it directly. So whenever we want amplifier applications, the transistor should be operated in the active region. So we will bias it to work in the active region. And for switching applications, it should be operated between cutoff and saturation. So whenever it is working like a switch, we will be moving the transistor between cutoff and saturation. This is just an example of where we have biased the transistor to make it work like an amplifier. So we have ensured forward bias base emitter voltage, and by this VCC here means connecting a power supply like this. This is the meaning of showing this VCC with an arrow like this. It means positive of this power supply is connected to this end and negative to ground. Okay. So by connecting this, we have what? Ensured that the collector will be at a higher potential than the base, or this junction will be reverse biased. I will connect a greater voltage. That's why usually we'll indicate two supplies in series here, whereas here we'll show only one. So we will see that this VCC is always greater than whatever you connect in the base, VBB, so that this voltage at the collector will always be higher than the voltage at the base for most of the time, or collector base junction is reverse biased. Anyway, based on this biasing, we are going to fix something called as the Q point or the DC operating point. So what does Q stand for? Q stands for quiescent point. What is the meaning of quiescent? Quiescent means silent. So here quiescent means silent. Why it is called silent point? The operating point, also known as Q point or silent point. The simple reason being that this operating point is fixed for what? DC conditions. We fix this Q point only for DC conditions and not for AC. So why is it silent then? How do we represent DC? How do I represent a DC voltage of plus 5 volts graphically?
Straight line.
Yes, a straight line. How do I represent an AC voltage with peak to peak 5 volts?
Sinusoidal.
If it is sinusoidal or square, anything you can take. This peak to peak voltage will be. So generally what we say, this straight line like signal or DC signal, it's a constant value. So it will not create any variations or noise in the circuit. Constant values often is silent, whereas AC, there is variation of the signal from minimum to maximum. It can create some noise. That's why we call this Q point as the silent point, or we have used the name silent point because it is fixed with respect to DC conditions and not AC. Okay. So we can have an operating point for AC also, which we will see in one of the later modules. Here we are talking of Q point, means it is always fixing up the DC conditions of the circuit. And what are the coordinates of this Q point? This Q point, please remember, it lies on output characteristics of BJT. So we just now saw the output characteristics of the BJT, which looked like this, right? This was the output characteristics of a BJT, VCE versus IC. This Q point should always lie on the output characteristics of the BJT, and the coordinates of the Q points are VCE should be the x-axis and IC should be the y-axis. Please note, I am writing both in capital. VCE is the x-axis and IC is the y-axis. This will be the coordinates of the Q point or the operating point. Okay. And this point will always lie on a straight line called as DC load line. Q point always lies on DC load line. Always lies on a DC load line. Remember all this. So operating point is a specific point on the output characteristics of a transistor. It is also known as Q point or quiescent point. To establish this operating point in a particular region, it's necessary to provide appropriate DC voltages and currents. So by saying we are fixing the Q point, we are fixing the collector emitter voltage and the collector current. Okay. And to do that, we will use the DC power supplies along with a set of resistors. Okay. So how do we use BJTs in amplifiers? Or one simple application of BJT is as an amplifier, which we have already discussed. And I told you, if I have to use this as an amplifier, I have to, let's say, it's not coming correctly. See, in this output characteristics, let me say we are giving an AC input signal. You can see this transistor here. If I add an AC input signal here, say in terms of small IB. So this is capital IB DC, small IB is AC, and small IB plus capital IB is your small I capital B, total current. Remember, the total current is AC plus DC current. So what I'm trying to do, I'm giving an AC input signal here. And if I have to represent that, usually, let me say, I'll draw perpendiculars to the characteristic curve, and this is how I'm giving the AC input signal small ib. And correspondingly, sorry, I'll draw it straight. If I draw perpendiculars to this axis, this will generate collector emitter voltage in this fashion. This is our output voltage VCE, total voltage, which is sum of VCE plus VCE. And this is also known as output voltage. We will see. So we are giving an input sine wave, which is represented as IB. We will get an output collector emitter voltage. And similarly, if I draw the perpendicular lines here, I will also get an output collector current IC. Again, IC is the sum of IC and IC. Okay. So given an input sine wave, you will be getting output sine wave voltage and output sine wave current. And generally this input wave IB is in microamperes, whereas IC will be in milliamperes and VCE will be in volts. This increase in IC compared to IB will give us a gain in the circuit. We call it as current gain. We will also get a voltage gain if I measure. Instead of IB, if I take VBE, AC input voltage, I'll get a ratio of output voltage to input voltage will also give us voltage gain, which is higher. So this is how a transistor works like an amplifier. But please remember, if it has to work like an amplifier, it has to be biased. In the sense, this is not possible without ensuring that the base emitter junction is forward biased and the base collector junction is reverse biased. And if I have to do it, I have to give DC power supplies to the transistor. And normally we do it by using a set of resistors. We'll go to the, I hope you understood how it amplifies. Similarly, if it should work like a switch, I have just considered this as, we call this as voltage transfer curve or VTC curve for a transistor. The voltage transfer curve looks something like this. This is output voltage versus input voltage, VCE versus VBE. The output voltage in a transistor, when the input voltage is less than 0.5, the output will be 0 because the transistor will not be conducting, right? Remember, this transistor will not conduct if I don't overcome the cut-in voltage of the base emitter junction. Base emitter junction is a forward bias diode. So please remember, if we don't overcome the cut-in voltage of the base emitter junction, then which is around 0.6 or 0.7 volts, the transistor is switched off. So whenever the device is switched off, the voltage across the device is high. You see the voltage VCE is high. Okay, voltage across, but the current will be 0 here. If you look at the current through the device, it will be 0. And in active mode, you see the behavior. When the transistor is in active mode, any small change in VBE will cause a drastic change in the voltage. You see how the curve is changing. So this curve is falling, and you see there will be a drastic change in this output voltage for a small change in input voltage. This can be from 0.5 to 0.7 volts. Very small range. but there is a drastic change in the output. Ranges from output voltage will reach from maximum to minimum, and after 0.7 volts VBE. When the input voltage crosses 0.7, the output goes to saturation. So once the forward bias voltage has exceeded the saturation level of the transistor or reached the saturation level, the transistor is heavily conducting with maximum current. I will be maximum, and voltage across the transistor will be very less or almost zero. I told you 0.2, 0.3 volts. So here the device is in saturation. So the voltage across the device is minimum, current will be maximum. So we call this as the voltage transfer curve. You see, when the transistor is working like a switch, for input voltages which is less than 0.5, the switch is off. Transistor is off. And when the switch is off, high voltage across the transistor. This transistor voltage will be equal to this voltage. I told you VCC here means this is the power supply, the way VCC is connected, the meaning of this arrow. So all this VCC will appear across the collector emitter junction. Here VCE is equal to VCC. Whereas in the active mode it varies. For small changes in VBE, the changes in VCE is very high. And in saturation mode, it will remain what? VCE will almost remain 0 or 0.2 or 0.3 volts. This represents the behavior of transistor as a switch. Tomorrow we'll see the DC load line. We'll draw that and we'll see how to analyze the biasing circuits of a BJT.